the City podcast.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Keys to the City. I'm your host, Trevor Keys, alongside the big brother T3. And ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in our Keys to the City history, we are having the debut of he's not even ready, but we're going to put him right on and on the spot. The Patrick Clapp is joining us. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here, where the gamblers become billionaires or become massive losers, where everybody gets excited for the halftime and the commercials, or people just like to eat and drink. For us, guys like us, we like to eat, we like to drink, and we like to watch some football. It is finally here, Super Bowl week. We are less than 5 days away from the biggest game in the football world. But we're going to do it differently, too. We're going to do fact or fiction. And we're going to take some shots. We're going to go after the commercials halftime. I know all you entertainers. I know the Grammys just came out. Everybody's hoopla, hoopla. Yeah, we're all excited.
Didn't even know it was on, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really care for it. But is that the most overrated part of the
I'll tell you, though, Beyonce looked good, though. Beyonce looked good.
When does Beyonce not look good? When does Beyonce not look good?
I thought it was really good.
She looked voluptuous.
Scrumptiously umptious. That's what I like to say. She looks very scrumptiously umptious. But yes, 5 days away. We're going to be back later in the week. I know Ted and the fam will be down here for Florida. We're going to try to do our best to give us the predictions from Sunnyside, Florida, and give us Super Bowl 57.
80 degrees and palm trees, baby. Can't wait.
Yeah, I know. You need a little tan, bro.
Dude, I've been tanning. I'm good, bro. I've been tanning.
Yeah, Ted goes to tan in Tommy's Tanning. He goes to Tommy's Tanning and tans.
Bro, you got to prep the body. It's like anything else. You got to get ready. You don't want to go down there and burn. Pat knows.
Pat's just chilling in good old Hartford. He's going courtside right now. He's going to be going to see the UConn Huskies versus the Marquette tonight. Big top 10 matchup. Can the Huskies get back into their winning ways? Everybody, all you UConn fans were so happy. I know Patrick Clapp was very happy. But
They were. There's 5.5 point favorites or 4.5 point favorites.
What have they done, Pat? They've ruined.
Trev, they were dominating the first 11 games. They were dominating, and then once they got into conference play, it's
exactly they're fakes.
Big East is tough. They're top
fakes.
25 teams right now.
They're
top
fakes.
25 teams.
Well,
Trev, how's your Duke team doing? No one cares. Shut up.
Aren't you a Florida fan?
Oh, UConn fan.
Oh, I'm a UConn fan. But he was always a Florida fan. But now all of a sudden he doesn't like Florida.
Hold on. When UConn and Florida played and we went to the Orange Ale House with Cousin Michael and down, who did I root for? UConn. Rooted for UConn over Florida when they played in the Final Four.
And when UConn and Duke plays, you know who I root for? Duke.
UConn. Yeah, because UConn always wins.
They haven't played in a long time. They haven't played in a long time in the tournament. But that is only a month away. So after this, it is sad times for us football fans, but like I said, 5 days away. So we're going to get into a fact or fiction Super Bowl 57 edition. A couple questions that I'm going to ask the two boys, and then we're going to just dive into it. Let's start off with this because this Super Bowl in general has a plethora of great talent on the field. Defensively, offensively, special teams, sidelines, the coaches. There are so many great talents and great minds playing in this game. And you get the two best teams in all of football, ladies and gentlemen. I know people will be upset about the whole Brock Purdy situation, but from start to finish, the Eagles and the Chiefs most of the year have been the top dogs of this NFL season. So it's very tough to say who's the best player, not named Patrick Mahomes, going into Super Bowl 57. I'm going to start with Patrick Clapp on this one, and then we'll dive into it. Pat, is Travis Kelce the best player in Super Bowl 57 not named Patrick Mahomes?
It's tough to say fiction, but I think I do have to say fact here. At the end of this dude's career, he's probably going to be the best tight end of all time, and that's saying that as a huge Rob Gronkowski fan. Dude just dominates every time he steps onto the field. Oh, he's got a back injury, AFC title game, huge game, didn't matter. I think he scored in 7 out of his last 11 playoff games. Nearly a lock to score a touchdown on Sunday. But you know what? He's going to be it's got to have to be the focal point for the Chiefs because they're decimated at the receiving core. I think Hardman's out. Kadarius Toney might not play. The rest of the receivers are a big question mark. Juju might not play. So he's going to have to be the second best player on the field. And I do think he is. So that's what I think. And I think he's going to have a huge vintage Kelce game if they're going to win. Because there's not really anybody else for Mahomes to throw to, honestly, which sounds crazy, but it's true.
I know you guys are into the whole gambling that you guys like to go after the games. That's fine. Do you think the
I'm not a
spread?
gambler. I'm too damn cheap to gamble, bro.
Well, at least you said it. I didn't want to say it, but we know Pat.
I have no problem bashing myself, bro. I count my pennies and make sure. But listen, when I'm on vacation, I know how to splurge.
But we know, we know that you're Mr. Cheapo. It's okay. We still love you.
It's all right.
Hey, listen, like Chaz always says, I still have my lunch money from 3rd grade.
I believe that. Hit it, Carano. Anyways, do you like the spread in this game? I'm gonna ask you, Pat. 1.5. Do you think I really thought this would be more in favor of Philly as like a 3.5, 4-point favorite? I'm surprised that it was a 1.5. Is that just because of Mahomes and Andy Reid? Really?
I believe it opened. Chiefs were favored by a point. It's swung now in favor of Philly due to betting and all that.
It should.
Mahomes is the best player, like you already said, on the field. He's already probably top 5, top 6 QB of all time already.
Yeah.
And it's in what, year 5 is this of him as a full-time starter?
It's remarkable.
You got the experience there. They've already done it. There's some question marks with Jalen Hurts' health and his shoulder. He hasn't really had to do much at all in their 2 playoff wins. But the Eagles are by far the more complete team. So I think the right team is favored here. The Eagles are just loaded on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Hurts was an MVP candidate. Miles Sanders, that rushing attack is lethal. They're loaded, man. They're loaded. I think the right team.
I was surprised the spread wasn't more. I wasn't surprised. I was surprised. I thought the spread would have been 3.5, because I feel like, Pat, when we talk about the games, usually, I mean, again, it's neutral site, so maybe they're calling it an even, and it's probably the Mahomes factor. Let's be honest, it's the Mahomes factor.
Oh yeah, I mean the public.
He's got to be worth the touchdown, if not more. And I think when you look at the game, at least in the betting side, the biggest discrepancy is in the quarterbacks. And this is not a knock on Hurts, but like you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, who's been in 5 AFC Championship games, 3 Super Bowls. If he wins this game, he's going to have 2 Super Bowl victories. An MVP, actually probably 2 regular season MVPs. Like, there's going to be no guy who started his career and had a better start to his career. Even with Brady, who was in 3 Super Bowls in his first 6 years, missed the playoffs 1 time, wasn't the best player on those teams. It was a defensive lead in teams with the running game, and he was just a contributor. Brady didn't set the tone until like that 18-1 team that we always love to remember, where he really took over. I mean, because you think about Brady was not Mahomes. But then again, the game is also different, Trevor. We were talking about this the other day. Yep. With just the defenses, Pat, I don't know if you saw the 30 for 30, the Baltimore Bullies. It was on Sunday night.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it, not the whole thing.
It was good, bro. I'll tell you, the Goose is funny as hell. Goose. All right, bro.
the Goose.
But then I was telling Trevor, I'm like, with the way the game is played, like they couldn't play that way now. I mean, it's like a lot of the sports, even with basketball, we like to see 150 to 140 in points. You even said it. This is a boring football game when it was like 7-3. And it's like, is
that really? But Pat, do you speak for most fans about that? That like you want to just see a game like, I'll give the example of the Chiefs and Rams Monday Night Football game a couple years ago. Is that what fans want to see in general? They don't want to see a like 13-3 Patriot Rams Super Bowl, something like that. Are you speaking from the fan's perspective overall when you say that?
Well, you got to keep in mind there's football purists, kind of like you guys would probably be considered football purists, grew up playing football family. And then what gambling and fantasy has done for the NFL and for sports in general is you want to see action. You want to see points. You want to see touchdowns. Touchdown!
Touchdown!
Yeah, I mean, the public in general, there's so much money and interest fueled by gambling and daily fantasy. And people want to see points. So, I think the Eagles dominated both their games. The AFC Championship was kind of lacking offensively. That was a great game, though. But I think in general, the public wants to see points. And, I think this game is set up for a lot of points. And in the Dome, I think you got 2 elite offenses.
But do we get our hopes up? Because you think about this 2 years ago, guys, when we watched it, we got all hyped up for Brady, Mahomes, Bucks, and Chiefs. And I know that the Chiefs had a decimated offensive line at the time. But when you think about it, that was just like, okay, we get to see the GOAT versus possible the future GOAT. And it just was a complete dud. Can we be maybe expecting something like this on Sunday, or are we expecting this game to go down to the wire?
As good as the Eagles are, I don't see it. Personally, if I want to answer quick, I don't see it. Like I told you the stat, I'll steal it from Nick Wright. The Chiefs in 32 straight games have not been beaten by double digits. Every game has been within 1 possession. They haven't been beaten by more than 7 or 8 points. And that's phenomenal, bro. I mean, you
Yeah,
think
the
about
last
even
game
all
was
those
probably the
Bengals
Bucs
games.
game.
Every single one of those Bengal games have all been decided by 3 points.
Yeah.
Every single one of those 4 games is 3 points. Either Bengals won the first 3 by 3 points, or like this one where the Chiefs had the walk-off field goal by 3 points. Chiefs don't get blown out, and that's partially because of Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, they score points. The only time I can think that they last got blown out, Trev, is like the one you just said, the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. But
Yeah.
I think if you realistically understand the game and watch the game, you realize that when you're missing your 2 starting tackles, bro, you're missing half your offensive line. Listen, Mahomes was the best player on that field that night. He did everything he possibly could. You can't do anything when you're throwing the ball. Remember the Superman throw from the side? Like, you can't do anything when you're lying on your back.
Went right through Darrell Williams' hands.
I swear to God, that was Superman.
That would have been the
Looked like
best play and arguably top 3 play in NFL history, and the guy just completely dropped the pass.
That's the worst when you watch those plays and you're like, oh, just catch it or something. You're like,
well, they had if you remember that game, they had multiple opportunities. First drive, Mahomes throwing to his left, cross body, and Tyreek Hill drops the ball in his hands too. Your boy Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, the Chiefs just got outplayed that game. And
do they get outplayed in this game though? Like against a team like this Eagles, who really, Ted, we've talked about, doesn't really have a glaring weakness.
Well, here's you said Travis Kelce. Now here's the obvious answer is kind of like, yeah, Travis Kelce is probably the second best player, right?
Some people would say Hurts,
but no. Well, listen,
I'm actually surprised, Pat. I'm surprised you didn't say Jalen Hurts, Pat.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, listen, I thought Pat was going to go with Hurts. I'll be honest.
I thought so.
Because when most of the time when you have this discussion, it always comes down to the quarterback, right? Because he has the ball in his hands and everything controls him. But I could go with 2 other guys, and they're both from the Eagles. I can go Hassan Reddick because we have seen before in previous Super Bowls certain defensive end guys take over a game, like a Shaq Barrett, like a Von Miller. Aaron Donald. I know he played the inside, but we've seen interior D-line, and Hassan Reddick is going to be going against Wiley. I forget his first name, but the right tackle.
Kyle Wiley, I think.
I forget, but he's a good offensive tackle. He's no slouch.
Yeah.
But he might be one of their of the 5 guys, which is not saying much because they have a really good offensive line. He might be their weakest, right? So when we see it, Hassan Reddick, he's been, honestly, go look at his numbers the last 7 to 10 games. He has been a better player than Micah Parsons by far. Micah Parsons shot out of like a 40-yard dash. But go look at Micah Parsons' last 7 games. I think he had 1 sack. Hassan Reddick has been consistent and dominant. He literally, if you look at his numbers compete against anyone that's up for the defensive MVP this year or the defensive player of the year. Hassan Reddick.
I'm going to give you a number, 39.5.
What's that, pressures?
That is the number of sacks Reddick has had the last 3 years combined. 39.5 sacks across the last 3 seasons.
That's got to rank in the top 5 of defense.
Carolina, Arizona, and now this year, obviously, Philly. I mean, the guy is so underrated.
I don't think he's underrated anymore. I think he's going to get his respect. So I think he'll get a nice big contract extension sooner or later.
But Trev, if I wanted to, just play the fun game with this, it would be honestly his brother. Everything from that offense starts with Jason Kelce. He's been the best center in football the past 10 years. Everything is constructed through him. You can watch. I watched a little bit of the stuff last night. The press and the promotion, all the stuff. You could see Jason Kelce is the ultimate leader on that team. Everything starts with him, bro. Everything.
That might be the matchup of the entire Super Bowl,
especially the offensive line. And we're always talking about his athleticism and how well he's able to, make. When I don't think people understand. I didn't play center, but I know guys who did. To be able to snap the ball and then still be able to pull on like sweeps and a lot of the runs, his athleticism, especially for a guy that's only like 280, he's an undersized center in today's football. Mm-hmm. So his ability to be able, the sweep where Miles Sanders scores on his second touchdown, you see Kelce's pitched, snap the ball, get to the outside. He actually beats Greenwald to the outside. He doesn't even have to make a block to him. So his athleticism and everything is constructed with him, and especially because he's going to be dealing with Chris Jones, maybe up in the middle.
Yeah.
And Chris Jones was the best player on the field last week in the AFC Championship game. So maybe I go with Jason Kelce, right? Because everything starts as the offensive line with him. He makes all the calls. He dictates everything, and like they say with a pitcher, you're only as good as your catcher too. And he's that guy for the Eagles.
I think you're wrong. I get where you're coming from, but I'm going with Travis Kelce. The guy. Literally, Pat said it. He's a Hall of Famer. The guy. That's the funny thing about this team. We all like to say let's try to slow down Travis Kelce. That's all we've been hearing for years. Yet no one has an answer for him. Like, he's not the most athletic tight end in the world, but the man finds ways to get open, and it doesn't matter who's covering him. Derwin James, we've seen in the past, can't cover him. The all-pros, Minkah Fitzpatrick, guys that are lined up against him, they have a trouble with him. So there's no really an answer for Travis Kelce. I get it. There's no stud receivers on this Chiefs offense. But Travis Kelce, man, him compared to everybody else in position value, I know we're going to do this eventually. We're going to talk about like top 5 receivers sooner or later too. But when you look at the top tight ends in the world, I mean, the disparity, the gap between Travis Kelce and the next closest is huge. It's huge. It's like there's nobody else. Like quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, I get it. Joe Burrow, you'll have conversations, Patrick Mahomes. Running backs is all over the place. Receivers, you could pick anybody. But when you look at tight ends, that's the one position you're like, Travis Kelce. Just nobody else. Mark Andrews, I get it. Good. George Kittle, solid tight end. He's a Hall of Famer.
I think a lot of those stems with and Pat will know this from basketball. The backyard basketball where you have that connection where you know where your guy is going to be on the back passes and everything where you just have to make eye contact. I think a lot of those two guys, it's just backyard football. Like, agreed. Pat, I read you. I play with you so much. I know if you're leaning left or you cut with your right, you're going left or vice versa where you're setting them up.
You just got to foul Pat. Just come on. Just body him. It's easy. I know he's 6'5".
Listen, you
got to rough the feathers up. I know he's a big
dude.
He'll
just stand over.
Get it. I know, I get it, but guess what? You got to play bully ball. You got to play bully ball.
That used to work. Doesn't happen. Ask Chaz about that. Last time he tried to talk shit, crap.
Talk shit. What? He talked shit to you, and what happened? He got after you?
Pat, tell him.
We played him, and then an hour later, everybody quit, and we were at Hard Hat celebrating the win.
My back.
Yeah.
I think I was there. The back.
Marty almost fainted. Chuck threw his back out, and that was the last time we all played.
Oh, yeah, that was.
No, I know what you're saying, Ted. I mean, like, I go back to the Gronk comparison with Kelce. Think back to the Brady Gronk days. Like, Brady, as good as he is, would throw him into so much trouble right into the defenders. Kelce and Mahomes, he often catches it in stride over the middle. There's no one near him.
Most of their plays are improvised.
Yeah, they just, he very rarely takes a huge hit. They just like have it down. They really do. They know each other like the back of their hands. And, like you think back to that touchdown of the AFC title game, I think it was 4th down. Yes. And Kelce was covered and Mahomes just threw it up to him. And I don't even know how do they do it. He just makes it look so easy.
That's how half of their plays are, man. It's like, I know they have designed plays, but every time it seems like the Chiefs are on offense. 3 of the 4 plays or 2 of the 3 plays are usually offsetting plays and just improvisation by Patrick Mahomes. And it's a fascinating way how they've been doing it for so long. Colin Cowherd made a good point that if they do win this Super Bowl with the team that they have, all you really need is just showing that just go get a quarterback and a real good coach. And you could set yourself up for a lot of great things. Because this team is not more talented than the Eagles. The Eagles are the better team overall on paper from top to bottom. But the 2 most important factors of this game going into this Super Bowl is they got the quarterback and they got the coach.
Yep.
And that could go a long way in this league and winning championships. And it could happen. I mean, it just happened last year. The Bengals, they had Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. They should have never even been in the Super Bowl. But they had the quarterback and they had the coach, and they were this close from winning a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, he's already been to 2 or 3 Super Bowls. It's saying something. And he hasn't been the most and I'm pretty sure out of the 3 Super Bowls, probably the 49ers had a more talented team, and the Bucs, I would say, have had a more talented team too. So it's got to be saying something that this guy and this duo, maybe this trio of the new Belichick, Brady, and Gronk trio, to see them in a Super Bowl again and to go to 5 straight AFC Championship games. It's got to be saying something that you don't really need all this going all in method. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. The past couple of years, it's worked. And then you see the Mahomes factor. Ted, you were talking about, I'm glad you brought up defensive players, Hassan Reddick. Well, I know the favorite to win this MVP is probably Mahomes, and then Jalen Hurts, maybe Travis Kelce. But this defense, studs on every level. Linebackers, TJ Edwards. They got James Bradbury. They got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They got Darius Slay. And then their defensive line, good luck to the Chiefs' offensive line. I mean, I know they got a good one. But can a defensive player win the MVP of this game, Ted? And if so, is it Hassan? Is it Reddick? Is Reddick the easy choice?
Well, he's the easiest because he's got the stats to back it up. But it can easily be anybody of the defense line because if the Chiefs are and listen, Chris Jones was the easiest player on the Chiefs. But you don't want to hear a stat I was looking at last night. Do you know what the hell is Frank Clark is top 5 all time in sacks in the postseason? He's up there with Reggie White, Bruce Smith, like some of the greatest of all time. He is in the top 5 of sacks all time. But like a guy like Frank Clark, but it could be any of those Eagles defenders, right? It could be on the defensive line. If one of those guys, if your focus is on Hassan Reddick, and say Brandon Graham has a 2 or 3 sack game, what if Fletcher Cox has one of those, games? Yeah. They have so many guys. It could be honestly, it could be a secondary guy. Could have 2 impactful picks, right? That changes the game. I just think in today's game, it's really going to be hard. He has to do something special. It has to be a Von Miller type of game where it's 2 or 3 sacks. It's a strip fumble.
Do you not think he can do that?
He can.
He just did in the NFC title game.
This is Mahomes, bro. This is not Brock Purdy. This is not Josh Johnson. It's a whole different avenue, right? And Andy Reid, go look at the stats. I think he's like 15-1 all time coming off a bye. He doesn't lose off the bye. Sorry, this is considered a bye. 2 weeks to prep for this Eagles team. You're giving one of the best coaches of all time, especially if he wins this. Now he's going to be a coach with multiple Super Bowl appearances, multiple Super Bowl wins. He's 4th all time in, I believe, coaching wins, victories, or he's right there where next season he'll be in the top 4. You're going to put Andy Reid maybe as the second best coach of all time, only behind Bill Belichick. So,
is that one loss after the bye? It must be the Super Bowl against the Bucs, no?
Yeah, it was a crazy stat because up until like he was undefeated coming off of bye. So, you're giving Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes 2 weeks. Patrick Mahomes should be almost 100% or close to fully healthy. Listen, he's beating up these teams with 1.5 legs, bro.
Yeah.
We saw what he did with 1.5 legs. What's he going to be with 2 legs? This is a whole different weapon for the Eagles. But honestly, I was going to give you more of a sleeper pick, and I think Pat would be like loving this. But like a guy like Jared McKinnon, who could get maybe 2 touchdowns, like 5 catches, like 45 yards rushing, 5 catches for 55 yards, 2 touchdowns, sleeper late round guy where you like, you know what? He's plus 500. I'll throw $20 on him, see what happens.
The question is, Ted, will you actually throw in $20 on a guy like that? Or are you going to be Mr. Cheapo? And
I don't think you can gamble in Florida, the state of Florida, bro.
You could throw in a bet before you leave, but
thank you, Patrick.
You can always go down to the sport.
Thank you very much, Miss Lippy.
I have a dark horse MVP pick myself, actually, and it's Devontae Smith. I think he's come on.
Dark horse. I think that could be. I think that could be one of the favorites to win an MVP.
No, he's probably not even top 5. What's the numbers on that, Pat?
I'd have to look it up. I think he's probably outside the top 5. He could be. Hold on.
I got one even more. I got one too. Sleeper. Isaiah Pacheco, baby.
Yeah.
Stud. I think he's a stud of a back. The Chiefs need to run the football. When you think about their AFC title game, they only rushed for 42 yards, I believe. They didn't run the ball. They threw the ball majority of the game. For them to keep Mahomes healthy and in the pocket healthy as well, you're going to have to establish some sort of run game. And we've seen throughout the year that the Eagles' weakness, one of their big weaknesses, they've improved. I'm not going to say they haven't, but was their rush defense. You have to get involved. And I love the Jared McKinnon pick. I think he could be an explosive player out of the backfield. A guy like Darius Toney.
Right?
What's up?
McKinnon's 50-1 to win MVP. This is according to DraftKings. McKinnon 50-1 as of right now. Devontae Smith 25-1.
What about my boy Pacheco?
Pacheco is I'm
35.
gonna look here.
No way. I think he's being low.
He'll have better odds because he's the starter running back.
You know what? I'm not even seeing unless I'm just missing it.
But
open your eyes, Patrick.
I don't see it.
I swear to God, I can't see it. But no, that's
not on here.
Really? See, that's a sleeper. He's not even on there.
Yeah, that's weird. Is he have an injury or something? I don't know.
I hope not. But that's why, like these.
Oh no, there he is. He's 35-1.
Wow.
Good guess, Ted.
Good guess, Ted. Well, Ted, maybe you should throw in $20 and shut your pie hole, or you're just not going to. Well, I can't. Florida doesn't gamble. Did you hear that, Pat? He said that Florida's an illegal gamble. Ted, you can go do it before you leave.
I know.
Yeah, you go right down to Sports Haven, put $20 in the machine, pick
He
it.
won't. Yeah, he
print it
won't.
out.
He's afraid to. He doesn't want to lose $20.
No, I've been there before.
You won't do it though.
We'll see what happens. I got tomorrow.
Yep, he's not doing it. He's not doing it. Why can't you just say no?
Shut up and move on.
What are you gonna do tomorrow, Ted? What are you gonna do tomorrow?
Gym tan haircut.
And tan laundry.
Gym tan laundry. I'm doing laundry today. I'm getting ready. Getting ready for because the fam's coming down to watch Super Bowl. Super Bowl 57. I like Pacheco. You like okay. Ted, you had a question though. I'm gonna let the floor is yours.
Well, no, it's
Your
it wasn't a
no,
question,
it's
but I
not.
was
It's
just
not.
saying,
Go ahead.
it was just a thought process that I had that I was like, okay, if this team wins, right? And I was thinking about
Eagles
me and
for
Pat-
what he's talking about. He's
if
talking about the
Eagles
Eagles
win the
team.
Super Bowl, right? And I going back to what me and Pat talked about a couple weeks ago when we just talked, general sports, but like Jalen Hurts probably wins the MVP if he doesn't get hurt, right? Because I think at one point he took over the lead.
It was either him or Mahomes.
They don't probably lose those 2 games, extra games, or what was it? They lost to the Saints. Oh, sorry, the 2 extra Saints in Dallas.
Yeah,
right.
but he didn't
Probably
play.
don't lose to the Saints in Dallas.
Yeah.
Right. So their 1 loss comes to Washington. They're 16-1. Right. He doesn't get hurt. They run through the playoffs. They've already dominated both teams in the playoffs.
It reminds me of the Panthers, like I said, 2015.
And you're talking about a team that literally has the best pass defense in football. They were number 1 rated, 178 yards a game. Right. So they dominated in the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
They had 70 sacks during the regular season. I think they're at somewhere around 75.
Like
80
4
sacks,
guys with 10 plus sacks,
which I don't think has ever been done. So you're talking about a team that can come get the passer and defend the pass. Yeah, they're a little weak on the running game, but guess what? They're not like 20th. They might be like 15th or whatever. So with that being said, and then you look at the offense, they have the best offensive line in football. I think everyone, after watching that 49ers game, it didn't matter who was on that defense line. They got pushed back. All right. Yeah. And they were able to do whatever you want. And then, like Pat said, you got A.J. Brown, a number 1 stud receiver, which I think is the biggest impact on this team all season long, was be able to get him and put a number 1 physical receiver on the outside because I think it sets everything else for the running game. You got a guy in Devontae Smith, who is one of the better route runners in all football. You have Dallas Goedert, who honestly is a very underrated tight end. And then you have 3 backs. You have Miles Sanders, who had 1,100 yards rushing, Pro Bowl player. Boston Scott, Gainwell, speed guys, flex guys, whatever. So, like, on the offensive side of the ball, you're not missing one component. You're like, oh, one guy's weak. No, there's no weakness on the offense. There's not one weakness on the offense. The biggest weakness you could talk about as a fan going, is Jalen Hurts healthy enough and is he good enough to like run the show? Because remember, Micah Parsons came out and was like, it's the system or it's the quarterback. Well, I think it's the quarterback because when they didn't have him, they were a completely different team. And you can tell me when he's not healthy, they're not the same team. When he's healthy, honestly, this is a train run, like Jack Parkman in Major League 2. Remember?
You're telling us Kansas City's lined up for a slaughterhouse.
No, but
tell me they're lined up for a slaughterhouse.
My question, let's get to the point of the thing was, if they win the Super Bowl, where do we rank this team in the last 10 years of Super Bowl winners? Because this Eagles team is better than the Eagles team that won in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Better than the Rams. Better than those Patriot teams. All right? The Denver team that won the Super Bowl, elite defense. Peyton Manning was a bum at that time. And I'm saying that with all due respect to him, but he was nothing to what we expected.
He couldn't even throw the ball.
Peyton? Oh, yeah, that was.
They did that. I mean,
he might have been the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl.
I mean, and then the Patriots beating the Falcons. Honestly, were the Patriots really that good, or the Falcons really that bad that day? I mean, they were up 28-3. We're talking about history. So, like, when you look at all the teams, right? Like, I just went through that Denver team. I'm like, well, the offense had studs, but Peyton Manning was not good at all.
He wasn't good. No,
the Rams were good last year, but let's be honest. 49ers, if Tark catches the pick, 49ers are in the Super Bowl, and not the Rams. All right, and then of course, if Aaron Donald doesn't make the play, Bengals beat them last year. You talk about the Patriots teams. Were they ever as great as the earlier Patriot teams? Not really. So, the Philly team that won in 2017, really, Nick Foles and that team is better than this Philly team? I don't know. I don't think so.
So you're saying
this is probably the best team we've seen, complete team. Maybe not best team, but most complete team from top to bottom. Secondary, D-line, linebackers, tight end. Tell me where their biggest weakness is. What, their linebackers? No one gives a crap about the linebackers.
No, their linebackers are good too.
And they're pretty good. So where's their weakness? Tell me where Nick Sirianni? I mean, is he real? I mean, is he a weakness? He put together a hell of an offense and made Jalen Hurts in 2 years an MVP and one of the 4 best quarterbacks in football. If you could think of a team right now that you think could compare to this team, if they win it, that's the big if. I think they should win it.
Pat said he reminds them of the Panthers. Who was that? Who was on the receiving core?
Ted
Kelvin
Ginn.
Benjamin.
Ted Ginn.
No,
and
Kelvin Benjamin was hurt that year. He tore his ACL in August. Ted
Oh,
Ginn.
That's too many burgers.
they had no receivers though.
Yeah, they didn't have anybody. Ted Ginn was the leading receiver. Philly Brown they had. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Was the running back Stewart and
Stewart and
D'Angelo?
no, D'Angelo was gone. Stewart was the
Oh,
primary guy. I think it was
I don't remember.
I can't remember so much.
I can't even think.
Greg Olson on that team?
He was.
Yeah. And that defense was good, but everything was led by Cam. Everything was
Well,
led by
and
Cam.
Kuechly at linebacker with the other
Kuechly.
linebacker, Thomas Davis. Their
Mhm.
secondary was pretty good, but let's be honest, they didn't have studs on all levels. Like the receivers.
That defense was nasty, though. I'm going to read some names. They had Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly, Josh Norman was all pro that year. They had Peanut Tillman, twilight of his career, but still a good guy. Roman Harper, Star Lutulelele, whatever I pronounce
Yeah,
it.
D-tackle.
K1 Short.
Yep.
I forget the guy's name, but he went off in the Super Bowl. He had like a pick and 2 sacks. I forget his name. He like ended up getting paid from that one game.
For the Panthers.
Yeah, he had a pick and 2 sacks. He had like a huge Super Bowl game. He probably would have been MVP had they won it. Honestly,
Ted, you may be right actually in the sense of when I'm thinking about the teams in the past. I don't really can think of a team. It depends on how this game goes too. I mean, if they come out and they just pull a Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they just beat up this Chiefs team.
Did you see the Madden thing? The Madden did the EA Sports preview game.
Well, who they have winning?
Eagles winning 34-21 or 23. So winning by 10 plus
Wow.
points. Now people laugh. It's Madden. It's Madden has picked.
Do you think people are not giving? I'm going to ask you both this too, and then I'll finish up with you guys. Do you think anybody's really giving the Chiefs a chance? It feels like everybody's all in on the Eagles.
That's the stupid of us fans thinking the Chiefs have no chance. I'll be dead honest. I think when I'm talking about everyone's probably listening. Oh, you're definitely picking the Eagles. You're a favorite of the Eagles. I honestly think
we already picked the Cowboys multiple times this year. Might as well just continue the NFC East tragedy that you've been talking about over there.
Honestly, I'd probably pick the Chiefs because when everyone's on a team and the hype is great and all this stuff, Andy Reid's been here, the team's been here. Eagles are running with the flash. I don't know.
Pat, remember that? I'll never forget Pat the whole Super Bowl week when the Panthers played the Broncos, and Pat was all nervous because he's like, they're not winning this game because everybody was on the Panthers.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I'll never forget it. He's like, the Panthers are now. Yep.
I remember waking up Super Bowl Sunday and just in the gut of my stomach thinking they're not winning this game. I knew it. And from the moment the game started, I was like, they're not winning.
Is that how you feel about this game? Like
no, I really think Philly's going to win. I think everyone's going to overblow it as like, oh, Patrick Mahomes' his legacy, blah, blah, blah. Mahomes, regardless of who wins this game, will be back in the Super Bowl, guaranteed at some point in his career. Guaranteed.
I'd say the next 3 years easily.
I think Philly's going to win. I think they're going to come out early, throwing the ball and showing the world, hey, Hurts' shoulder's fine. He's fine. I don't think the Chiefs secondary can keep up with those two guys, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Not to mention, nobody talks about Goddard because Kelce is obviously one of the best tight ends of all time. Goddard is probably a top 4, top 5 tight end.
Yes.
They have him too. I mean, they're
he's
loaded.
He's
But
healthy.
they haven't had to do anything. They've just run the ball in these 2 playoff games, and they haven't even had to unleash anything offensively.
Can I ask you, Pat? Can I ask you something? Is that Thanos' glove in the back?
This is a Lego Thanos glove here.
I love it.
I would grab it, but it's very fragile, and God forbid.
That's made out of Legos.
I made it the other day. Yeah. Yep.
Don't touch it.
No,
This
he
is
just
the box that came in.
Oh.
Wow.
590 pieces, whole pieces.
And you did that whole thing.
All pieces.
Adrian and I built it on Sunday with Eli.
Oh, that's nice and cute. That's beautiful. Now, where's Michael? I see
Fred.
Freddie. I see Freddie over the.
We
This is
got
the
a
first
couple
time.
Michaels here.
There he is. There's the
Michael's
goat. That's the true goat right there.
Yeah.
Ted, you love that. Ted, you love Michael.
Yeah.
No?
No, I go to bed. You guys stay up and watch it.
There's nothing better than watching Halloween in March and, right? Like normal people do.
Year round. It's a family classic. Oh, just to go back to what I said, Coney Ealy on the Panthers defense. his Super Bowl performance, had they won, they would have had to have given him MVP. He had 3 sacks and a pick in that game.
Did he really?
Yeah. Coney
Wow.
Ely. Look up the
Tony
box
Ely.
score.
I remember Tony Ely. Where did he come from? Did he play for
He,
Florida?
that was by far the biggest game of his career. I mean,
He had 3 sacks in that game. He had 3 sacks in that game.
3 sacks and a pick.
Where the hell was I?
Well, Ted, let's be honest. We were probably intoxicated. We were probably drinking. I mean, it is Super Bowl.
Well, that's why
Sunday.
usually, when it comes to the Super Bowl commercials and halftime, that's my, my
Right,
break.
so, like Super Bowl Sunday in general, to me, it's my favorite day of the year. Everybody has a favorite day of the year. Christmas, 4th of July. 4th of July is up there. I get it. But to me, Super Bowl Sunday is always my favorite day of the year. And it's also one of the saddest days for me in the year because it's the end of football for another 6 or 7 months. But just in general, you get to eat, you get to drink. Usually you're with your family. I've been down here, so I'm getting lucky this year with my whole family coming down, and we get to watch it finally. But let's close out with this. Are the commercials, and sorry for all the lovers of this, music, and I get it, and the commercials, but the commercials in the halftime show, are they the most overrated part of Super Bowl Sunday? Or is it when somebody brings like a bad meal?
I think, growing up back when TV was like the main medium, like the internet wasn't what it was now or wasn't what it is now. The commercials are released ahead of time. I mean, some of the biggest ones are already out there if you just Google them. So like a lot of that was huge in the 90s, 2000s, and now it's like, oh, I've seen this one already. So that's kind of taken a lot of like the air out of the whole appeal with the commercials. And then halftime, there's been some good halftime shows. Last year with Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop, those guys, that was a great halftime show.
That brought back our old high school days, Pat.
Bring back the childhood days.
Yeah, a lot. That resonated with a lot of people. Rihanna is great, but like I don't know if she has the music catalog that's gonna like appeal to the masses. You know what I mean?
She hasn't been around in a while. I feel like she's.
That's why this is big for her. This is listen, the Super Bowl thing, you have 100
Anytime
million
you get the
people-
nod for the Super Bowl, that's a big deal.
Well, it's 100 million people watching. They average like 90 million people watching the Super Bowl every year, bro.
It's usually the most watched event in our country every year.
100,000%. I remember when the CSP with Matt Abbott, he used to go, I don't care about football. I just love going to the Super Bowl parties to drink and eat. Because it's a good time.
Yeah,
it's just a festive day. If you're into that. You know what I mean? Everyone's bringing something. You're eating, you're drinking. If you don't want to drink, be my guest. Drink seltzer and water.
Yo, Pat had an interesting take, and then we'll get out of here. He said that nachos are the most overrated meal. How do you feel about that, Ted?
Once he explained it, he's 100% right. Because I tell you, son, I hate when we order nachos at the table. Because if you don't eat them within the first 5 minutes, Pat knows this. When we went down to Ricky T's last year or whatever, and we're eating the nachos, nachos were great. The steak nachos are great, and you like ask for the queso and the salsa. But then after like 5 minutes, all this shit at the bottom at the end, it's just wet noodles.
Yeah. Nachos are.
It's like, can I have extra chips for picking up the crap that's there?
Yeah.
The stuff gets cold. It doesn't have that same taste. It ain't cold pizza. It ain't eating macaroni cold. It's just nasty. It's like all the gooey crap. It's like, I don't want this. I'm picking the onions out. I don't.
So then, if it's your most overrated, what is your most, not underrated, but what is your favorite Super Bowl meal? Dish, if you can pick one. Just think of the regular ones. If you had to pick,
I got two. I think like meatballs and like a crock pot or something, or like with a toothpick, and then buffalo chicken dip with some good celery or something like that. Those, because those, they maintain their flavor. The nachos, not only is it like the consistency is like the cheese is melted, but it's cold. Like they're meant to be eaten hot.
That has to be an immediate eating thing, and honestly, I'd give one for Dad if you're into that stuff, but like a good chili or something in a crock pot, like you said, where it just marinates, it gets better with flavor. I mean, you never go wrong with wings. Honestly, you never go wrong with wings.
Sliders, I feel like you gotta have
sliders are also great too. Like I remember a couple years ago when we had the parties, like Ralph made these cheeseburger sliders, homemade cheeseburger sliders, or spicy meatballs where you could dunk it in different sauces. You can put your own condiments on it.
Wings, Paulie, the wings.
Honestly, the key is get them on the Hawaiian rolls. The Hawaiian rolls with either the meatball sliders, like Pat said, or whatever. Always good. I love.
I'm gonna get probably a lot of hate for this, but like to me, the most overrated. And I'm just thinking of the day. I love this in general. don't bring a fruit basket or something. Don't bring like a fruit thing. Because to me,
No one
when I
brings
think,
bring veggies.
well, when people bring like a fruit instead of veggies or something like that, don't bring it. Because to me, when it's Super Bowl, you're eating garbage. You're eating crap. So just eat like a fat bastard. Don't eat healthy. Just eat like a fat bastard, right, Ted? We just
Absolutely.
eat. We indulge.
I'm gonna gain 5 pounds of alcoholism and foodism, and then
Buddhism.
the next day I'm gonna be on the toilet twice because it's all gonna be constipated and waited for the next day.
I'm sure the viewers were dying to hear that.
It's telling people his whole life right now.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, but can I tell you something? Usually, though, like you guys know, you said the food thing. Like I can eat like 5 pounds of food, and people are like, "Oh, where's it going?" Then I wake up the next day, and I'm like, "I'm
If
empty."
anybody's never seen it, just go watch his Big E video of him
Oh my God.
indulging.
With the music.
It's a legendary, with the music, indulging into about almost 30,000 calories of food. It seemed like that was impressive, Ted. It's a legendary video. I can't wait. It's finally here. We're 5 days away. Super Bowl Sunday, Eagles Chiefs. Patrick Clapp joining us for the first time ever. We've had him on the phone. We wanted to get the Knish on, but he's always doing something.
The Knish is in office and back in the city today, he said.
He's back in the city today?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, Patrick, it's always a pleasure.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. This was fun. I'm just gonna, parting words. I got the Eagles 35-28, dark horse MVP Devontae Smith. I think there's a chance he could have like 5-6 catches, couple long TDs. It's obviously an outlier, long shot, but Devontae Smith is
We'll be watching at the end of the game. Be like, Pat, he's got 5 catches for like 85 yards, a touchdown. They're up 35.
He's really come on this last second half of the year. He had a slow start, but he's really picked it up.
He's emerged as one of the great number 2s in this game.
Yeah,
it's going to be a hell of a game. Like I said, we're going to try to be back at the later in the week just to give us a quick predictions and just overall takes for the finale of the 2022-2023 NFL season. It's been a hell of a season. I can't believe how fast it went by. Where's the time going, gentlemen?
5 months goes like that.
Why does it happen? Soon we'll be having March Madness, and then we'll have baseball, and then we got to hear the dumb Red Sox fans believe they're going to win the World Series again.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next episode. We are Keys to the City. We are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.